question 1 from Unit 4. I'll read it in its entirety, and then we'll listen to your presentation. In Federalist 70, Alexander Hamilton argues that energy in the executive is a leading character in the definition of good government. Do you agree or disagree? Why? What evidence can you offer to support your position? How would you describe energy in the executive? What are its essential ingredients? How would you define a feeble executive? In what ways might a feeble executive be as dangerous as an overly energetic one, and why?
Immediately following the Constitutional Convention in October 1787, the first Federalist paper was written by Alexander Hamilton. Along with James Madison and John Jay, Hamilton created a set of 85 articles and essays to promote the ratification of the United States Constitution. Federalist 70, written by Hamilton, stated that there cannot be a feeble executive, but more importantly, there cannot be a plural executive. The executive must have a proper amount of energy in order to maintain balance with the other branches of the government. The citizens of most states were used to having an extremely weak executive, or none at all in the case of Pennsylvania. Hamilton had to convince the people that they needed a single strong executive to lead the executive branch. Federalist 70 details the problems of a feeble executive and the strengths of an energetic one, and argues that, quote, energy in the executive is a leading character in the definition of good government, unquote.
Hamilton firmly believed and portrayed in Federalist 70 that energy is composed of certain essential ingredients. It is the power or force behind the president who leads the executive branch. In addition, the executive must have a sufficient duration in office in order to develop their political views into actions. Finally, the executive needs adequate resources and powers to institute these actions. Federalist 70 states that if an executive is not energetic, then he is feeble.
As Hamilton stated, quote, a feeble executive implies a feeble execution of the government, end quote. In theory, a poorly executed government is a bad government. If an executive is plural, then they will not have enough power to execute laws. They are bound to disagree with their fellow executives no matter how similar they are. In order to prevent a feeble executive and an imbalanced government, there must be a strong supporting federal bureaucracy. The framers of the Constitution created a federal bureaucracy to assist the president with the quote, steady administration of laws, unquote. George Washington, the first president, only had 3 cabinets. However, today President Obama has 15 cabinets, passing more than 2 million paper workers.
In Federalist 70, Hamilton also argues the strength of energy in the executive. At all times, the executive must be energetic in order to make progress. However, there are times when a greater amount of energy is needed, such as during a war or economic depression. Herbert Hoover, the 31st president, was 2 people in time of economic downturn. The stock market crash on October 29, 1929, became known as Black Tuesday. Hoover believed that the executive should be feeble and should not have much impact in the states. However, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected to office 3 years later, and he was anything but feeble. In his inaugural address, he declared his election a mandate that required direct, vigorous action. FDR created numerous programs to the Tennessee Valley Authority, the War Production Board, and the Public Works Administration Project, all of which put many Americans back to work. The country was in a period of economic depression, and Roosevelt had the energy to begin fixing the problem at hand.
However, there can be times when people are executives is needed. In a time of national stability, there is no need for an extremely energetic president, unlike in times of war and economic recession. Before Andrew Jackson served as president, veto was used to stop presidents believed were unconstitutional bills from becoming laws. However, when he was in office, Jackson changed its interpretation. He vetoed bills not because they were unconstitutional, but because he disagreed with them politically. He used the veto 12 times, more than all of his predecessors combined. During a time of peace, Jackson redefined the use of the veto, merely because he had different constitutional interpretation. He was overly energetic in a time where he did not need to be.
In Federalist 70, Alexander Hamilton outlined the proper amount of energy an executive should have, and made the argument that an energetic executive is part of the definition of good government. Hamilton's ideas regarding an energetic executive serve as a foundation for a modern executive power. As President Obama stated, quote, if Congress refuses to act, I said that I'll continue to do everything in my power to act without them, unquote. During times of war and economic downturn, there needs to be more energy in the executive, and during times of peace and stability, there needs to be less.
It sounds, I'm trying to get a handle on exactly what the standards are for when we should have a more energetic executive and when we should have a less energetic executive. And it sounds to me like you're making an argument for a contextual time. Can you help me understand something that's clearer than that? That is, how can I tell other than I agree or disagree with when the president is being energetic or not being energetic?
You mean, an energetic president such as FDR, during a time when many Americans are out of work, so they can't earn money for their families, have the money to buy food and other necessary things for a living. So you need to have an energetic president to implement a certain program, get them back to work so they can provide for their families.
Also, Theodore Roosevelt, he stopped trust and monopoly, so he tried to stop what people were experiencing at the time. So if people were experiencing problems, the president needs to be energetic in order to help them.
I believe that you need an energetic executive in times of war, such as the AUMF allows for the president to declare times of war, which allows him to be more energetic.
Michael, is there ever a time in which we would say, is there ever a time in which we could find that people would say, oh, we don't have any problems? I mean, if we're using that kind of problem-based definition, wouldn't there always be people out there arguing that we need the president to be more energetic?
I believe that if you use that definition, then you would automatically say the president always needs to be energetic, but I do not believe that this is the case. Although the president should be energetic and has the power to do so in the vesting clause, he does not necessarily always need to be. As in times of economic downturn and war, he, as commander-in-chief, he can use his power as commander-in-chief to declare war and thus protect the people of America. And in times of economic downturn, he can institute programs to put America back to work and help the economy. But he doesn't necessarily have to be as energetic when he does not have those pressing issues that are facing him.
Like we're always having a war on something, war on drugs, war on poverty. I don't know if that's definition at all. President Kennedy, for you.
Yeah, I want to go to this because it would seem to me pro-congressional advocates would have a strong disagreement with this. It was not the founder's intention to, quote, using Hamilton's language, energize the executive beyond the necessary means for fulfilling Article 1, Section 8. So what would be your response to the Hamiltonian from a congressional standpoint, instead of Jeffersonian or Madisonian point of view, who would argue we have a Congress in place who has designated powers. To what degree should Congress reject or hold back or push back on the president?
Well, I believe that the founders made the Constitution very vague, and over time, the power of the entire national government has grown, not just the executive or Congress, but over time, the executive and Congress have both grown, and the judicial, through the vesting clause, which is extremely vague, just giving the president the power of the executive.
The power of Congress is also quite large. The power of Congress is dealing with almost everything from war to taxation and money. So the power given to Congress is it's very vague in the necessary and proper clause, and it's also enumerated in quite strong terms about what they can and can't do. The president also has a strong power, but less so. With the vesting clause, it's so vague that each president has a different constitutional interpretation of what his or her role in the Constitution and in the office of an executive should be. So it depends on the opinions and constitutional views of the president in office to determine how much energy that they use or that they should have.
But who's going to check that?
If there is a person or people harmed from an executive order or a bill passed by Congress, they can take it to all up the judicial system and to the Supreme Court, and they can declare either the executive order or the law unconstitutional.
That's a long and arduous process, right?
Another check on presidential power is if the president passes an executive order that Congress doesn't necessarily like, they can refuse to fund it if it requires funding.
They can also override presidential veto.
Also, there's a check of the people on the president, so especially during a time when the president is trying to be reelected, he's very, very worried about his public opinion. If he's passing an executive order and it gets a lot of negative feedback, he's likely to take it back.
The president's approval rating right now is 43%, and it's high up to 69%. So people can participate in polls and see how the president is doing, and he can use what the people's
when the president was trying to do military action against Syria, and he said that even though he had the power to do so, he would go through Congress before he enacted any strikes against Syria, because he believed that he should go through the people and through the Congress, and he was worried about public opinion.
But he used the opposite, when he wanted to make changes to the ACA, 25, 26.
I was enjoying the debate. We'll give you a little feedback here. I'll start off first. I really enjoyed the presentation. I mean, it's clear that you, not only you know the subject matter of the federal subject, but you also really thought about it and how it's, related to the history of the country, the political history, and the political atmosphere at the time. And I enjoyed the debate that we had afterwards as well, too. I would have liked to have gone over further about the difference between a feeble and energetic executive. Just this is a time of peace, so you need to be with one versus energetic ones. I'm not sure our modern times make those kind of distinctions, but if you took a position and you supported it, and I bet you did that very well. So good.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would do with Hamilton is I would certainly look at one of his major pieces of writing, which was the report on the manufacturers. But this was a major piece that he was looking up at the role of not only the executive branch, but what the role of the United States should be with regard to commerce issues, industrial issues, banking issues, foreign policy issues. And for him, clearly that was the case where the president or the chief executive should be important. So I think you can place that within context of why Hamilton was saying what he was saying with regard to the interview of the executive versus not. He was seeing that person as a point. So you might want to just get a summary view of that particular piece. It's not a long piece, but it gives you an insight into what Hamilton was thinking, why he was thinking about the role of the executive.
I had fun. I hope you did. I was having fun. I think I know it was a great conversation because the natural reaction on something like this, where you essentially say, we need the proper amount of energy. Well, the proper amount of energy, the reaction to that is often to take the Goldilocks solution. Not too much, not too little, but just the right amount. Well, what you do is you essentially take that dichotomous position that says, well, if it's not energetic, then it's too feeble. And that really does kind of force you to fall on one side or the other. And then I thought you did a really good job of having placed yourself in an impossible position, sticking with it. And I thought you did a good job with that. And you didn't let me push you beyond that kind of contextual analysis, which is in fact the way most of us look at it. Most of us define the president, we want the president to be more energetic when we want the president to be more energetic. And we know that because we're in a certain context, a certain situation, and we think now's the time for the president to be energetic. And if we're not in that situation, we want them to back off. I'd be careful about going with the polls, although it's a good point. But I found one of the interesting things recently is the president's being criticized about his position on Crimea, for instance, in which the president is doing exactly what the polls show people wanting to do. They don't want to get involved in Crimea. He's doing what the polls show that the people want him to do. Therefore, he's not being energetic enough. But it strikes me as it fits with exactly this kind of dilemma that we're wrestling with here. Is there is no right answer, which is exactly why we have people like you thinking about it and wrestling with it, and why we'll probably still have the question of, is the president being energetic or not energetic enough for a long time. And I thought